Part 2 update. I needed some time to sort out the situation, but I did read most as many replies as I could, and I appreciate all the advice and messages, especially from those who had been put in similar situations as I guess I should start by clearing a few things up. First off, to everyone who thought my story had holes in it, it definitely did, and I'm sorry for that. At the time and even now I was missing a lot of information and was filling in holes as best I could with what I had. I also didn't want the post to get too long, so I left out information that I guess would have painted a better picture of my situation. I'll try my best to include those missing details. If you're just interested in the update, skip down a few paragraphs. So, details about John. He is part of Sarah and I's social circle and lives quite close to us. Some of the behavior from John towards Sarah that made me uncomfortable throughout the course our relationship included constantly making comments about her body, putting his arm around her every chance he could, asking her to go with him on trip to Europe last summer, just the two of them, poking her breasts when she's wearing tight clothing, saying things like "I'm lucky I met her when I did, or she would have been with him by now," etc. It's not any one thing but accumulation of everything that made me uncomfortable with her spending a lot of time with him. She never encouraged his behavior, at least when I was around, but didn't actively discourage it either, despite we openly talking to her about my boundaries. She just brushed it off as them knowing each other for so long and being comfortable with one another. A few smaller details I guess were relevant I should mention. 1. We are not in the US. COVID, while still obviously an issue in our country, our area is relatively COVID-free, and everyone going to the party Sarah went to were part of our larger social circle. It was at a large condo a friend of ours was renting for the summer. It was not some open invite party with 100 plus people. Still dumb, I know. There were 30-ish, maybe 40 people there, so in hindsight, yeah, no one should have been at the party to begin with. Lastly, clearing up both Sarah and I's financial situation. I am lucky enough to have my parents paying for my tuition, whatever scholarships didn't cover, so I can focus my resources on just day-to-day living costs like rent, groceries, etc. Sarah, on the other hand, was pretty much thrown to the wolves after finishing high school. Her parents, like I stated in my edit, are very religious and very controlling, so they told Sarah they were only going to pay for her schooling if she went to a local college. She refused and came to my school. She lived in residency for her first 2 years, which was covered by financial aid. I got my apartment about a year ago, and with COVID and her not wanting to go back home, we decided it would be best if she moved in with me. Her finances are basically completely tied up on tuition and student loans, so I offered to keep paying full rent despite her living with me full time. Actual update. Oh boy, I wish I could say things have gotten more clear in the past week, but honestly it's been a total cluster of CK and it's only gotten worse. I spent a few days at Sam's reaching out to friends trying to get a clearer picture of what happened that night before going back to talk to Sarah. I got told same story multiple times, that she was the one who started flirting with John and led him upstairs. I should say right now, in my first conversation with Sarah confronting her, she didn't explicitly say she had intended to sleep with him that night, she just confirmed she took him upstairs. She was basically having panic attack throughout the entire conversation, so I had a hard time pushing for clarity. So by this point in my heart I was trying to find any excuse at all for her to save our relationship, but my mind was telling me that the relationship was over, at least for the time being. But as many of you commented, despite my obviously grief in losing a 2-year relationship, I decided I'd be willing to let her stay in my apartment again rent-free to at least the end of October to sort out other living arrangements and support. I called her about 3 days after staying at Sam's and told her I'm willing to listen to her side of the story, but I need the complete truth about everything, and she agreed, so I went back to my apartment later that evening. We sat down and I asked her about what really happened that night. She started crying right away, but not panicking, and told she had to tell me something about herself. Sarah has always been into the partying scene more than me. I've never really been comfortable around drugs and that environment in general, but I went with her anyways about once a month or so. Her, on the other hand, would have girls' nights out and parties pretty much every weekend. Right at the beginning of our relationship I told her I'm not really comfortable being with someone that isn't involved with hard drug use. My brother has a history of addiction and I've seen what it can do to somebody and the people around them. She told me that's fine since she only drinks and smokes weed occasionally. Well, it turns out for about a year now she started doing harder drugs at parties when I'm not there, and her girls' nights were often just her and some from our social circle. John included going to a friend's apartment to do shrooms. I was shocked to say the least, and I didn't even know what to think in that moment. I just tried to ask her more about what happened on the night she was assaulted and if she was intending on cheating on me that night. She comes clean and tells me she did lead John upstairs, but swears she wasn't trying to sleep with him but wanted drugs. He told her it was cocaine, but obviously it was not, since only fentanyl and alcohol showed up in her system at the hospital. She told me he immediately started coming on to her, but she tried to fight him off, but eventually she was too drugged out to fight back. After consoling her for a while, I asked her what her relationship with John was really like before and if they did anything together before what happened that night. She admitted that they made out a few times before around Christmas last year, but promised it didn't go any further than that. She was begging me to forgive her and that she needs me in her life. That she just was in a rebellious phase because of her upbringing. I didn't know what to believe anymore and still don't, to be honest. I just was completely overwhelmed by everything, so I told her I needed to clear my head and left again. Sam was nice enough to let me stay at his place again. I talked to some of my friends she said she was doing drugs with and they confirmed. I was pretty upset at them for hiding it from me, but they told me she basically forced them to keep it a secret from me. It feels like so much of my relationship was a lie. She wasn't the person I thought she was and she lied constantly for who knows how long. At this point my mind is basically made up, so I call her and told her it's over, but she can stay at my apartment till the end of October, but only if she finds a therapist and gets help during that time. She basically lost it during the call, but my mind was made up, so I just said I'd be staying at Sam's for a while and hung up. I wish that was the last of the SHT that happened, but literally a day after that I start getting spammed with hate messages and calls from friends, relatives and people I don't even know. Turns out she's posted all over social media about how I was breaking up with her because she was raped and was kicking her out with nowhere to go in these COVID times. She also wrote that I've been emotionally abusing her after her assault, victim blaming her and stopping her from getting in therapist. I'm completely lost. I'm furious, heartbroken. I can't even describe all the emotions I felt. I called her again that night and told her she has 2 weeks to move out now and I don't want to hear from her again. I had to spend the past week playing damage control, trying to clear my name on social media, calling friends and family. I was ostracized by coworkers, though luckily my boss was on my side. I was getting doxxed, death threats, my life basically fell apart. Sam, thank God, was completely understanding through all of this and said I could stay at his place until Sarah moved out. She's moving out on Friday, but I don't want to go back to that apartment anyone. I've had to cut out friends, my reputation is now in the garbage. I lost the first and only person I've ever loved, I don't know anymore. I low-key want to die, but I'll find a therapist sooner or later. I just feel numb to everything. I don't even know if I'm right or wrong in this situation anymore. I hope I haven't rambled on too much. I know this post is really long, but thank you really for everyone who showed support in the last post. It meant a lot. TLDR, girlfriend lied to me about the night she was raped. Turns out she was with him that night to get drugs, had been doing hard drugs behind my back for months, cheated on me with the friend that ended up assaulting her, and then lied on social media about how I had been emotionally abusing despite my best effort to support her, causing my life to fall apart. Edit. Someone's comment made me realize she was still lying to me the second time I talked to her. She changed her story about what she was drugged with and I didn't even realize. I was not told by the hospital what she had in her system, and I'm not very knowledgeable on drugs in general. All that information I had came from Sarah. I don't even know if she was drugged against her will at all at this point. God, I'm doubting everything now. This is not the person I thought she was. I don't even care. She's out of my life now. Comment 1. In his original post, I said that he's entitled to what he feels and that he shouldn't be chained to the relationship. Also said that family and friends will pressure him. It was also sus of the girl to even be spending time with John. But white knights and maybe even Ahmad got angry at me. I got downvoted and my post was eventually removed. And holy hell, up you keep yourself safe. There was a Himam episode about relationship baggage. I know it's bad to get info from a show, but that episode was a good one. It's fine to be in a relationship with a person that is baggage. But the nature of the baggage and even the number of baggages can be a deal breaker. And that girl is a lot of baggage. Comment 2. Hey dude, are you okay? After reading this, I definitely feel like you need all the support. Cause let me be completely clear, none of this is your fault. Absolutely not a single thing that happened is your fault. It was your girlfriend who decided to lie to you constantly. She was the one that decided to cheat. She was the one who decided to hide it. She was the one lied again for no other reason to hurt you, the guy who letting he live there rent free, and for what, to hurt you for not constantly taking her lies and having some self-respect. She wasn't a partner to you. Partners don't do these things. She was just using you, and the way she turned on you and used it to get sympathy points shows that what she really cares about. Please reach out. I'm here if you need to talk, but just remember, none of this is on you. You didn't deserve any of what happened to you, and while she was a victim, that doesn't give her the right to act how she is, and she made you a victim of her now. Comment 3. If you need someone, I'm here, man. Focus on your own well-being currently and those closest to you and truly rooting for you. Every situation seems impossible until you actually survive it. You'll be okay, my friend. Just focus on maintaining peace, relaxation and not stressing or dwelling on negative emotions as much as you can. This kind of thing can destroy someone, trust me, I've seen it happen loads of times before, but in my experience. You have a great head on your shoulders, you'll get through this a more experienced man. Never give up, brother. You're not alone. Thanks you for watching. Everyday New Movies. See you soon.